Good morning everyone and welcome in today's class. As we know that we are studying the second chapter of class 9 Civics, that is constitutional design, and in this chapter we will study about two topics, that is first is democratic constitution in South Africa and second is making of the Indian Constitution. So in today's class we will firstly study about the democratic constitution in South Africa. But before this we need to know about the very important story of South Africa, that was called as apartheid system. So now let's start our today's class with a topic of that story. That is, South Africa is a country lies in southernmost part of the Africa continent. And in 910, Britain established Union of South Africa and made it British colony. Means Britain occupied it and made it its colony because Britain ruled more than 200 countries in the world. So 70% population of South Africa is black and colored. So Britain white people started discriminating these people from 1910 until 1948. The word apartheid was not common. Means they started discriminating people from the when they made this South Africa as a colony. And what was apartheid system? The apartheid system means apartness. Apartness is alcohol. Discrimination on the basis of skin color, that is called as apartheid. And it was very famous practice were being used to discriminate the black peoples and was by the British and white people. So in 1948, National Party formed government under the prime ministership of Daniel Francois Malan. He was the prime minister of South Africa in 1948 and he was a British prime minister, and he introduced the policy of apartheid. Means the word he brought in the South Africa, that was called as apartheid. When the philosophy and policy of apartheid system in South Africa was brought by the British Prime Minister Daniel Francois Malan in 1948. And so what was the disadvantage of this system for South Africa people? That is, they had no voting rights. In South Africa peoples had not any voting rights. They were not allowed to go in white areas without permit. Means without permission they could not go in the white areas where the white people used to live. All the buses, taxis, hostels, schools, colleges, public toilets were separate for blacks and colored people, and it was called as segregation. It was called as segregation. We also can say algawad. So who struggled against the South Africa? The struggle started against the South Africa when ANC was formed. So ANC was an umbrella organization in the South Africa that was called as ANC African National Congress. And ANC African National Congress was formed in 912, broke the apartheid laws only entering in white areas. Means what ANC did, he entered in those areas which are prohibited for the blacks people. And by entering in these areas, ANC broke these apartheid laws. And what they did, so in 1960, police opened fire on the anti-apartheid protests. Means those people who were protesting against the apartheid, they opened fire on them and killed 69 people in Saraville, that called as massacre. Massacre means when loads of the people died at one time, that was called as massacre. So who in 1960 police opened fire on these peoples in Saraville and killed 69 people. So the white government banned the ANC, means white government, the white people of government of British people, they banned ANC, उन्होंने उसको बंद कर दिया. And Pan African Congress, these are two parties, two organizations. First is ANC African National Congress and second one is Pan African Congress and jailed their leaders including Nelson Mandela. Means those who were the leaders of ANC and who were the leaders of Pan African National Congress. These peoples were jailed and including Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was very famous leader of the ANC and later he became the first president of the South Africa. In 1960, for 28 years they were jailed. So what was the result of this struggle? And results of this struggle means the struggle they did. What was the result of this? International pressure in the geopolitics. That was in 1960. Pressure increased. United Nations called sanctions against South Africa. Means UN, United Nations, there is a institution who is responsible to maintain peace and equality and human rights in the world. So he sanctioned against the South Africa. He banned some South African parties, and in 1980 the US passed a comprehensive anti-apartheid act. Means we are opposing the apartheid system. So United States of America passed anti-apartheid comprehensive act in 1980. So end of the apartheid. The third part of that is end of the apartheid. How apartheid system was ended. So in 1980, white ruled states forced the South Africa government under the P.W. Botha. He was a leader of that British party, to erase apartheid. Means to erase means that we should leave this apartheid system, otherwise we will not be longer able to keep this system in South Africa. So in 1918, South Africa President F.W. de Klerk, he was the president of South Africa. F.D. Klerk lifted the ban on ANC. Means he repealed the ban on ANC and released Nelson Mandela after 28 years. So in 1994, when all the leaders and ANC was lifted from the jails, and in 1984 South Africa took away the apartheid system after this government. And so on 26th of April 1994, South Africa became a democratic country. So as we know that every democratic country must have a constitution. So in the next class we will study about that how the most undemocratic country formed into a democratic country. So now let's move forward regarding reading the mind map of this system of apartheid. So this is the apartheid system, and what was the political situation in the South Africa? Political system that government of minority white people called oligocracy. Oligocracy means the government by few people. We also called as government by the minority, that is called as oligocracy. So apartheid system, political system was that government was of white people in South Africa, and protests. Firstly, let's study about the disadvantage for blacks. Means those people who were black. What were the disadvantages for those peoples who were living in South Africa as black people? So they had no voting rights. They were not allowed to go in white areas without permission. They could not go in such areas where white used to live. Everything was separate for them, and it was called as segregation. Means algawad. It was called as algawad. So who protested against this apartheid system? Steve Biko, who was called as the leader of ANC. He was beaten to death. By police in 1976. And ANC plus Nelson Mandela in 1964, they protested against the apartheid system, Sarkaville massacre on 21st March in 1960, where 69 people were killed by the police by shooting. And end of apartheid, UN sanctions passed Anti-Apartheid Act. President de Klerk freed Nelson Mandela from jail, and white government took away the apartheid law from the black people. And in the last, South Africa became a democratic country on 26th April 1994. And every democratic country must need a constitution. So in the next class we will study about the path to the constitution, how South Africa formed its constitution to get together all the peoples who were living white and blacks in, and how they made rights for them. So thank you for watching, and I hope that you like this video. Thank you and have a great day.